What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2, a PlayStation Podcast. My name's Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, indie game dev, and my UK bruv from another mum, Callum Monroe. Callum, how are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, as we were just saying, I'm on holiday mode, so everything's good. Everything's feeling nice.
You got your sandals on and ready?
Yeah. Well, yeah, going up north, so it'll probably be whatever the opposite of sandals are, like wellies or something.
I realize that. It's it's going to be super cold, so never mind.
Yeah. I think it's meant to rain all next week, but it wouldn't be going to Scotland if it didn't rain, so I'm quite glad about that.
Nice. That's awesome. Is it like, is there any hikes and stuff you can do over there, or it's really just like a road trip kind of thing?
Yeah, we're going to, so they recommend about 5 days to do the trip, and we're going for like 10, so we're going to really be able to take our time. And wild camping, I don't know if that's a term you use in the States, is where you're allowed to just pitch up anywhere you like.
I see, gotcha.
And because I live in the New Forest, which is like the very, very south of England. And it's like a huge, it's quite a famous sort of forest in the UK. But you're not allowed to wild camp. It's very preserved, and because people down here are just idiots and aren't respectful.
Yep.
Whereas up in Scotland, people are a lot more respectful. It's a bit more niche to sort of go hiking in Scotland, just because it's not quite as, down here it's very warm and
right
hand-holdy, whereas Scotland's very much, wild. So we're just going to sort of stop every night, find a really, really nice trek. I've got an app on my phone that sort of is like community run. And it's people that upload their tracks. It's got really good, like, sophisticated maps and things. So,
nice.
So yeah, we're just going to live wild for a few days and see some nice sort of scenery. I mean, I think Scotland is just the most amazing place on earth. So, can't wait to spend sort of the next couple of weeks there. It's going to be really, really nice. So, nice to get
awesome.
away.
Yeah, for sure. You got to send me a postcard from there. I imagine, it's super beautiful. Is there wildlife where you guys are going to be camping too? Like, are there bears there? Like, do you have any kind of like fail safe, like a knife or something, and just in case?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. There's no bears, I don't think, but they have like wolves, and I think there's a lot of like wild dogs in Scotland, especially like around the moors and things. But I think the main thing is they're called midges over in Scotland, which are like the mosquitoes. But because of how Scotland is, it's very wet and very, it's very coastal, and there's lots of peninsulas and bits of the ocean that sort of come inland. The mosquitoes are like flying people over there, so you've got to have like really industrial like sprays and things like that. So I think if it's not the wolves that will eat us, it'll be the mosquitoes. But no, we should be all right. I actually bought a sleeping bag, but it's like an outfit, so I look like an astronaut when I wear it. And I trialed it last night. I stayed at a friend's house, and I was able literally just to fall asleep on the floor because it was so comfy. So I'm feeling pretty prepared. Just got to make sure I don't crash because there's a lot of driving. I mean, we're going literally from like the most southern point in England pretty much to all the way up to the top. So it's going to be a long journey, but yeah, really looking forward to it.
Nice. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's probably a tiny road trip in comparison to sort of what you guys do over in America, but because I don't think the whole of the UK even fits in any of the states there. But to us, it's a big deal.
Well, it's like road trips, super long road trips. I don't know if they're super common here, but like we'll travel. I'm in Washington State. We'll travel around the state a bunch, and it's really cool here because there's a lot of different like biomes and terrain, and not very far from each other. So like we're actually in this like super desert area, but you drive an hour and you're in this like really deep forest, or you can go the other direction and it's just more like mountainy, snowy kind of stuff, and it's just like there's all this kind of terrain around you. But I need to get out more, get on some more road trips for sure.
I think that's why Scotland's so nice to visit in that respect, because it sort of has a bit of everything. Like they've got like these beautiful tropical looking beaches because of how sort of north they are. I mean, you can see things like the Northern Lights that you see in places like Norway and everything. You've got like the nice green luscious hills and the snowy mountains, and it's just like a bit of everything. Like you're saying, all the different biomes, and because Scotland's just so in such a unique place on like just the earth. That you sort of do just get a little bit of everything, but a lot of rain, definitely. That's definitely a unique selling point of Scotland, is the rain and the famous bad weather.
Gotcha. Nice. Well, before you head out, we've been playing this week to kind of get one last taste of video games before you head out into nature?
I've been playing Wasteland 3 since sort of Monday. I've got a review code of it. It's been playing that all week, trying to sort of, cause it's about 80 to 100 hours long, is what they said in sort of the press kit you get given. But they sort of give you like a point to play to at least if you can't quite make that. And I managed to put about 30 hours or so in before I sort of ripped my review. And it is probably my game of the year, to be honest.
Wow.
Came out of like way left field. I didn't really know much about the series at all. I'd heard about it and everything, but wasn't too excited. I mean, we saw it revealed, didn't we? It was the Xbox conference or something. And even then, I wasn't really too bothered about it. But yeah, it's absolutely awesome. It's really well written, really funny, but sort of understands itself. And I think, again, completely out of left field, I think sort of the guys who have made that, I think it's In Exile, they've really sort of cemented themselves at the very, very top of, making RPG games. It's really, really something special. And it's really, really surprised me sort of as someone who isn't in the series at all.
Yeah, can you explain walk me through some of the gameplay? So it looks like is it fully turn-based, or you're just like locked to this grid system? Is it more actiony, or you have to kind of plan things out ahead of time?
It's basically, like the old Fallout games, like Fallout 1 and 2, or games like Pathfinder and Pillars of Eternity, like the really classic like isometric RPGs, like party-based ones. It basically plays like that. So, you walk around, you click to sort of walk to a place, you can click on people to talk to, loot things, and then when you're in combat, it sort of turns into like a tile-based kind of XCOM strategy sort of thing. But I think what I love most about it is the writing. Every single it's my phone talking to me again. Does it every time? Does it? Every single line is voice acted, and there's so many lines that you'll miss because it's so multi-choice, and there's so many different things you can do that affect your game. But everything's voice acted like expertly. It's written really well. The game itself is just so fun. It's got really like intricate sort of RPG progression systems in it, and it's just designed really, really well. I think the only times I ever had any frustrating moments was in the combat. I think it was slightly buggy in areas, but I imagine they'll iron all that out. So it was kind of annoying sometimes. And just from playing games like that, like XCOM as well, like where you have that RNG based sort of dice rolling stuff when it comes to combat, it's quite frustrating when you're like 5 feet away from somebody and you miss, and then their entire team then all were like a crack shot and kill you all. So there's definitely some annoying moments, but overall the combat's sort of decent. And yeah, the game is just, it's absolutely brilliant. And yeah, my review should be out sort of hopefully over the weekend or something, but I had to like refrain from just talking about all the different things because there's so much to it. So I just had to sort of select all my favorite things and talk about them there. But yeah, I recommend it. I mean, it's on everything. It's on PS4. It's on Game Pass. It is a really, really excellent RPG. And I think before, I'd always look at like Obsidian maybe with like Outer Worlds and Pillars of Eternity and Grounded as sort of like some of the best like storytellers in games. But I think In Exile have just come out and proven to everyone that they are right at the top of this. And yeah, it's really, really, really great game.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize it was on Game Pass, so that gives me a great incentive to try it because I've never been the biggest fan, and maybe I am. I just never tried this like style of gameplay. Really, it always kind of just didn't appeal to me. But hearing you talk about it, seeing all the big reviews, really have just great things to say. Like I think I want to try it, especially if it's on Game Pass. Then I'll jump in, with no worries at all. So yeah, I definitely want to try this.
Well, I think like it's set in a very dark, themed place, very post-apocalyptic. It's frighteningly accurate to sort of today's world as well, and a lot of there's so many choices you have to make, like big choices, and they're so like morally difficult to pick between, because it's similar to Fallout. Like there's no real good guy or bad guy. Everyone's sort of just in it to survive. But the game is full of humor. Like it's so funny. Like it reminds me a lot like Borderlands. Like it's just absolutely hilarious. Like brilliant one-liners, really just funny characters and everything. But it never feels like a joke game. Do you know what I mean? It's just very cleverly written and I think that makes it slightly more accessible in a way, just because you have so much fun just with the characters and what's happening in the story. It's just a lot of fun. It's really engaging. So I think if you're not really into those kinds of games, because I wouldn't say I necessarily am, I enjoy them, but I never really get that hooked on them. I think Wasteland 3 is a really, really accessible game because it's still hardcore and it's difficult like the other ones, but there is just something about it that feels kind of familiar for, more mainstream gamers, I suppose, like us that play games like Fallout and everything. It's just a really great game. I can't recommend it enough.
And now you're playing on PC, I imagine, through Game Pass. I wonder how the mechanics transfer when you're playing like on a controller. I wonder if they've optimized it for. That's always a hurdle with like these kind of RPG games.
Yeah. Well, after playing Pathfinder Kingmaker with an Xbox controller, because they re-released that recently for console, I actually think that was preferable because they had overhauled the HUD and everything to fit that new control scheme. And I imagine with Xbox piling a lot of money into this game as well, because I know that they had some sort of relationship with it. I'm sure that they would have, tried to make sure that it was fit for their flagship console as well. Right. And it's on PS4, so I imagine that they sort of took the time to make it work with controllers. If it can work with something like Pathfinder, I'm sure it will work with this. So I'm interested to actually see how it works, because I got it on Steam. I got a code for Steam. And the only bugs I really encountered were some small combat ones where the game didn't seem to be able to keep up with sort of everything I was clicking on. And I think that some people are having some issues on the Game Pass version and the PS4 version, so I don't know what's the best one to play at the moment. But I mean, if you look at the general consensus from critics, it's extremely high scores. So I imagine across the board it's playable at least. So so I suppose whatever system's easiest to get it on, which would probably be Game Pass for you and most others, then it's definitely worth a go, worth a try.
That's really cool. This is a style of game I've wanted to try again for a while. It's almost like when you grow up knowing you don't like a certain food, and then you try it years later. It's like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot again and see if I like it. And then if not, try again in like 10 years. But like, this is one I want to try and get to the style gameplay. I know they've done the same thing with like Gears. There's Gears Tactics, I want to say. People really love that version of Gears, with like RPG style to it. So I do want to try this. It's especially with Game Pass, it's like there's just no risk of like, I paid, full price and now I hate this game.
Yeah. Well, one thing I really liked about it as well, which like immediately grabbed me, because it's sort of when you create your custom characters, is normally, you create a custom character and, choose all their stuff and their backstory. And it is designed like these classic RPG games, where a lot of it is meta. So, you make up your character's backstory. You can choose sort of like certain traits and things, but it's mostly your own ideas. But what Wasteland 3 does is you actually create two people. So you create a pair that sort of know each other, and they sort of join or part of these rangers, which are like the main faction that you play as. But they have like pre-made ones, so you can play as like a father and a daughter character, kind of like a Joel and Ellie kind of thing. Nice. You can play as like these two punk heavy metal guys, and so it's just a really cool like addition. I mean, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, because by the time you're a few hours into the game, you end up having a squad of like 6 people anyway. But just sort of starting off your like custom sort of, getting into that RPG sort of zone, and you're straight away having to think about a pair. It's just quite a nice dynamic. It was quite different. And I really, really enjoyed that. There's a lot to sort of extract from it. Like I said, I'm about 30 hours in. Written my review, and I'm just going to head straight back into it when I can, because I really want to see it through and see what happens. I'm really glad that I played it, because it's a game I wouldn't have played otherwise, and it's now, like I said, probably my favorite game of the year.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I gotta try this now. It's a ringing endorsement from Cal Monroe. I gotta try this.
And it's actually on PS4, so for once we're actually talking about a PlayStation game.
Right. It's good to circle back around to that somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine this has taken up a lot of your time, so have you been able to dip into anything else? It's really just been Wasteland?
Yeah, so when I first got the Wasteland key, I didn't get the press sort of thing that gives you like the beta code to like unlock it, because even if you get the code, you still can't play it until it's officially out.
Gotcha.
So whilst I was waiting for that, I reviewed the Peaky Blinders game, Peaky Blinders Mastermind, which came out sort of like last week or so. And
based on the TV show?
It was an attempt. It was, it had some cool ideas to it, but it wasn't great. But it sort of had this very, I mean, fairly innovative to be fair. It's quite original. The puzzle mechanic. It's kind of like this whole having like a timeline you can rewind and then control other characters so that you hold down a lever and then rewind and be someone else to do something whilst you're holding down the lever. It's very confusing, but it's a good idea. It's just when you play it, it's really finicky and annoying because you have to like hold open doors for ages to give yourself enough time to then walk through it. And it was just annoying to play, but that was only like 4 or 5 hours long, so it wasn't too much of my time. But it's I played it nonetheless.
Are you a fan of the show that's based on?
Peaky Blinders. No, I haven't seen Peaky Blinders. No, it's I think I've seen maybe the first 2 episodes like a few times. One of those series I've tried to get into, but I've heard it's really cool. And unfortunately, the sort of writing in the game, there was no voice actor or anything. It was really subpar, but the art's really cool. They seem to capture like the characters and the setting quite well. So yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a good attempt. I mean, there's obviously some good stuff there. There's some good ideas there. It just didn't quite come together too well, but it was. I enjoyed my time with it. The short time I had with it.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't realize this was a thing, so it kind of caught me off guard. I've never watched this show as well, but or as much as you have, but yeah, I've heard good things. It's like it's really well renowned show.
Yeah,
and and it seems like a cool setup, and it seems like it fits that world perfectly. But yeah, I guess it just didn't hit those marks.
Yeah, I think I think that setting is ripe for a video game. But I think that rather than try and tell like something more narrative based, they tried to play on the sort of, because apparently the series is mostly about them pulling off these like perfectly timed plans and heists and things. So they've tried to make this puzzle mechanic that's all about timing everything and using everyone's like unique abilities together to like do a heist or whatever. And I get that, and it's a cool premise to try and tackle that side of the sort of source material. But the end result is just, it's more frustrating than it is sort of fun. So you can see that the puzzle mechanic's clever, and you can see what they've tried to do, but unfortunately, it's just not very fun to play.
Gotcha. That's a bummer. Anything beyond that?
No, just those 2.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was playing this week. Not a whole lot of PC stuff because my PC exploded last week, and my graphics card anyways, and I had to send it in. It's been a whole thing. I'm still waiting for it. But at least I got a new one coming in. But so until then, I've been dipping into more console stuff. And I did play on Switch this game called West of Dead. I don't know if you remember hearing about it. It's a roguelike, roguelike, and it's voiced by Ron Perlman. And it's like this, if you remember the movie 300, it looks very much like a graphic novel come to life. Mm-hmm. It's very like cell shaded, and it's just kind of your top down looking at it, but it's action based. You're running around, you're dodging stuff, you have kind of limited amount of ammo or how fast you can reload. And it's procedurally generated, so every attempt is different. And it's really like my first whack at like an actual roguelike. And I didn't realize that the whole premise with roguelikes is that they reset the world, every time, or not reset the world, but that when you die, you basically don't take anything with you. And so I was pretty angry. Like I was texting Gavin, and I was like, hey, what's the deal with this game? Because he had played before too. He's like, what's the deal with this game?
How do I save it?
How do I save? He's like, hey man, that's how it works.
Yeah.
So I was very frustrated, but the actual gameplay is really, really fun. And so it keeps me, because that's such a great gameplay loop, it keeps me jumping in there, even though I lose my stuff. But it's not like...
do you get like upgrades that sort of do carry over? Or is everything new? Like,
you do, and that's what I realized. The more you play it, you start to unlock the ability to you kind of put points in the bank, and then you can return those and get like health that carries over, or certain weapons that carry over. So I realized like, okay, there is a incentive to keep playing. Like there's something that you're building towards every time. It just sucks to kind of keep replaying that first bit over and over again, but I guess it helps that it's slightly different every time. But the gameplay is rock solid, and although I hate having to restart because I die constantly, it's still really fun.
I think they the roguelikes sort of like tap into that sort of weird like guilty pleasure like everyone has with grinding. Sort of, it's like, knowing you're getting more and more powerful each run. It's like when I played a bit of Dead Cells. That was what, like, I found myself not realizing sort of how much I'd played it in like one sitting, because I was like, oh, if I just have a couple more deaths, then I'll be able to upgrade this, and then I'll be able to get further overall every time. And it's just that sort of like progression that you sort of is like tangible, that sort of keeps you coming back. It's kind of like Dark Souls, I suppose. I think they sort of figured out a way to have like a game with tiny little roguelike sections. So like, between bonfires are like their own little roguelike games. And that feeling of reaching the end to then be able to progress more, I think is what sort of taps into that kind of addiction that sort of these roguelikes can sort of get you with.
Yeah, I'm getting the bug for sure, where it's I feel that, where it's like, okay, I can see the path or what I'm earning every time, and because the actual gameplay is so fun, I'm not bothered by. I wouldn't mind if there was some kind of baby mode where it does save your progress. That would actually be kind of dope. And that's one thing I love and respect, or also hate about the game, is that they don't hold your hand at all. They don't really explain a whole lot. It's just you get in there. There's no options to toggle as far as gameplay goes. It's just here it is, and you kind of have to learn along the way. And I like that I think I prefer that in games where they just kind of leave you alone a little bit and let you just figure things out. And the double-edged sword to that, though, is that you're left like, I'm constantly lost, looking around. What do I do? So there is a little bit of that. But I think I'd rather have them just like trust that I have smart enough brain that I can figure it out on my own.
Yeah, I think that's what makes me not like roguelikes, is, or not like them, but not sort of be able to play them too much, is, you're supposed to die to learn, but I hate dying in games. Like, it just annoys me. So it's like when I play Sekiro, for example, like, you're meant to just make a mistake and then know next time kind of thing, but I have to do it right, like, just every time. So I get like literally headaches when I'm playing like Sekiro or a game like a roguelike where there's so much hanging on every single choice. And I just like, I'm just so like stealthy and careful, when really I should just run in, die, and then be like, oh, I know how to deal with that next time. But I just can't do it. I'm not calm enough.
It's very much like some kind of karate trainer or some kind of like martial arts, where it's like they're just making you fail all the time. So it's then it's burning your brain what to do next time.
It's like that Tom Cruise movie where he like keeps dying and like repeating the day against those aliens, and he just has to keep doing it until he knows exactly how to do it. But I would be like taking hours like each time to like try and do it that time. Whereas, some people are just like, I've just got to keep failing, and then, but now I don't like that. I can't do it.
I fail enough in life that I don't need it replicated.
Yeah, exactly. I try and play video games to not fail. Like, it's like a fail-free zone.
Right. That reminds me, that was one thing I was thinking of with this game, is that it reminds me a lot of, did you ever play, there was that John Wick game that came out pretty recently. I think it was like John Wick Hex, I want to say it was called. I didn't end up liking the game very much, but this one almost does what I wanted John Wick to do, with the gunplay, with how you move around, with how fast you can get into the action. But it's still, you still have to think about what you're doing. Like, I think I would have wanted, you could have like changed this complete skin and just like added John Wick to it. And I think it would have worked perfect. And so I keep thinking about that while I'm playing the game. It's like, oh, I wish that, this could have worked in that world easily. And so, but I just didn't, whatever they're putting down with Hex, with John Wick Hex, I just didn't want that style of gameplay with that whole world, that movie universe. It's like, I wanted something just a bit more, I could run in and feel like I was kicking ass like John Wick.
Like super hot VR or something.
There you go. Right.
Yeah. No, I haven't played John Wick Hex. It's a game I want to try because I really like Mike Bithell, the guy who made it.
Yeah, he's dope.
So I'm really sort of interested to try that out. It's just one of those games I'll sort of hear about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I really need to play that, and then it'll just exit my head, and I'll completely forget it exists. So it's definitely a me problem. I just need to just bite the bullet and give that one a download at some point.
Yeah, and I loved with Mike Bithell. He did a Volume. I love that game. I played it on Vita, on PS3. I think eventually when it came to PS4, played it again. That game was really, really fun. And there's like remnants of that, I think, in John Wick too. It's just kind of style-wise, it's a little bit different. But he's
has such a nice guy as well.
Oh yeah, like you ever listen to? He has a new podcast that he does with Alana Pierce and I think Troy Baker most of the time, and another like audio game dev. And it's really good. They break down a lot of cool issues, and they have just such great perspectives on the industry, and it's just really cool to listen to.
Yeah. No, I like Mike as well because he's so like, he's a big, in terms of the industry, he's quite a big star, and he's very open to people, contacting him. People who want to get into the industry. He's very helpful, and he sort of gives back, which I think is really cool when you're in that sort of kind of position. So yeah, he's definitely sort of a guy I respect in that sort of sphere, and I do definitely want to play John Wick because like you said, Volume's awesome. All of his games are really good, so I just need to give it a go. And I love John Wick as well, so I don't know why I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, it's crazy that I let this man into my house, but Gavin, my buddy and co-host on the Plastic Hearts one, he will like forget that he watches movies or just doesn't watch movies that you think he would have watched. So he's only watched like the first John Wick, and I think I referenced like the second or third, and he's like, "Oh, what's that? What happens in that?" I'm like, "Dude, you got to get your life together. These are all solid movies. They're great. They're fun. It's like, what are you doing, with your life?" And he's like, "Oh, I guess I better watch it." But I have to like duct tape him to the chair to get him to watch stuff.
Who hasn't seen every single Keanu Reeves film anyway?
Exactly. That that reminds me that new Bill and Ted 3 came out. Do you have any interest in that? That seems like although it actually got good reviews.
Yeah, I think I was happy when I saw it was being made because I'm a huge Bill and Ted fan, mostly through my older sister, the same one that terrorized me throughout my life. She got me really into Bill and Ted, and when I heard they're making a third one, I was like, it's cool. It's probably going to be awful, but it's still cool. And I saw the trailer, and it looks so good. It looks absolutely awesome. So it's like a win-win. I was happy with it being bad. I was fine with that. But the fact it actually looks good is just a positive. So I'm really, really looking forward to watching that. Although Keanu Reeves looks very strange without a beard. He does look. He looks like young but old at the same time, and it's really just off-putting.
Yeah, his thing was like he wasn't really aging very much, and I think the key was that beard kind of gave him that wiggle room, and without it, it's like, okay, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah. He sort of, you can tell he's sort of like his hair's looked after to sort of keep that color, and things like it takes attention off of his cool beard. So. But no, I love Keanu Reeves. He's great, and I love Bill and Ted. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
Nice. I mean, as far as on my end, nothing much played beyond that. I did jump into, because I'm an idiot, I always jump back into Fortnite, and they did this new. The reason why was like they did this new tie-in with like more Marvel characters. So there's like a bunch of heroes you can play as, and you're playing. Eventually you're going to fight against Galactus, and that's like my absolute favorite superhero character is Galactus.
Yeah.
And he's not really like a hero or villain. He's just like omnipotent. He's just like a god, basically. He doesn't care at all what's going on, and they're just like flies that he flicks off the other like heroes. But I've always loved him. He's my favorite, and he's in the actual game. Like you fight against him eventually that's like the end game stuff. And so I can't wait to do that. So I'm just like grinding in that game because I know that
training, preparing.
Yep. But beyond that, nothing else. So we can jump into some of the news we got ready to go. So I got the first one here. It's some Fall Guys news. We got Fall Guys is now the most downloaded PlayStation Plus game ever. This is Tom Phillips of Eurogamer.net. Colorful Bean Battle Royale Fall Guys is doing very well, but you probably knew that already. Today, PlayStation trumpeted the news. Fall Guys is now the most downloaded PlayStation Plus game of all time on a global basis. That is some feat, considering the service has been handing out free games now for the better part of a decade, and that its offerings have previously included Grand Theft Auto-sized blockbuster fare. Not content with one impressive sale today, Fall Guys has also passed 7 million copies sold on Steam. That's pretty nuts, Callum. I knew that this thing was doing well, but like I didn't realize it was doing that well.
Yeah. It's even weirder because like I still haven't played it, so I'm just not like I'm not part of that conversation at all, which is weird because I normally like to at least check something out. I mean, like Fortnite when that first came out, I even played that a little bit, but yeah, I don't know why I haven't played this. I think I've just got too many games on at the moment to even give it a go. But no, it's really cool. It's awesome. I think it's a nice sort of story as well. But the guys who made it, and yeah, so I'm sure they're enjoying a lot of success right now, and I'm sure it will continue for a long, long time.
Oh yeah, I mean, and they're already unveiling some season 2 news, which that was at Gamescom, and we'll get into later. But they talked about that, what they have getting ready for the end of the year. But I mean, such a success story. It's a huge game. It's kind of taking over the entire internet. And I feel like although they've had a huge amount of success on PSN, and right now it's just there in Steam, once they throw it onto, and I'll go to Xbox eventually, I'm sure, but I think the key is once it gets to Switch, this is such a huge like family-friendly game, and if they keep it, of course, free on Switch too, I mean, that's where this thing, we'll see it even fly higher than what it is now.
Well, they will have to see how Nintendo's online sort of works with that, because apparently, I mean, a lot of games that use Nintendo's online services are ripped apart for being nigh on unplayable. So hopefully they'll sort that out then, because Nintendo are like the grandpa, aren't they? They sort of don't really understand technology.
They're trying. They're doing the TikTok dances in the background, but you can tell. It's
they just know how to make their consoles make nice sound effects and have bright colors. They haven't quite figured out online networks yet, but I'm sure they'll get there eventually. Maybe with the Switch 2 or whatever they do next, it'll have some sort of Wi-Fi.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Is that I mean, their internet infrastructure is lacking for sure. So when kids do load this up, does their Switch just like spark up and melt in their hands? Like, can it handle it?
Well, they're saying that you can play Fortnite on Switch, can't you? And that seems to work all right. So maybe it's more down to if it's a third-party game, they have their own infrastructure. Maybe it's just the Nintendo games. Because I know it was like Smash had really bad matchmaking, and there was a few other Nintendo games. So maybe it's just anything that Nintendo have to deal with is where it's there's a problem. But I'm sure Fall Guys will probably have their own ways around it.
Yeah, I'm sure they got the so much money now. They got to at least get 1 or 2 servers at this point, and
just never make a game again. Just make Fall Guys. I'm sure that whoever. The guys who made it, I mean, it's not a big team, is it? They're sort of quite a small indie studio.
Right, I think it's Mediatonic is their name.
Yeah, they'll be sorted for life. And I'm sure the guy who manages their Twitter is taking a slice of that as well, because I think he's been very instrumental behind its popularity too.
Oh yeah,
or
that's
she,
key.
whoever's updating their Twitter page.
Right. Yeah, they have such a great online presence, and they're always capitalizing on the memes and integrating all these different stuff. And like that's part of their success too, is just taking over the minds online. Like that's how you do it. And of course they have a great property to do that with, but it's like it's also in turn the way you can integrate that marketing is perfect.
Yeah, I think it's it's really clever, and I think it's just nice to see a game like that succeed and do well.
Right. Oh yeah. So yeah, we'll see more news from Fall Guys or Fall Guys coming up soon. Now that was revealed at Gamescom, so we can go with some of the Gamescom announcements. I mean, there's one big one that we'll really dissect, but we'll go. There's an overview from IGN. It's Gamescom opening night live showcase, bringing Ratchet and Clank PS5 gameplay and more. This is Adam Bankhurst of IGN. Gamescom opening night live started Thursday, August 27th, and featured the first full uncut gameplay demo of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for PlayStation 5, and world premieres from Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Fall Guys Season 2, Doom Eternal's campaign expansion, Star Wars Squadrons, World of Warcraft Shadowlands, and more. So we have the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart PS5 gameplay. What did you think of that demo?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, really, really great. I love I didn't really understand, well, I understood that there were rifts and things, but I didn't really understand that this is kind of a way to show the speed of these new consoles, of the power of them, being able to just load new levels and worlds just in front of you like mad. Obviously, I'm seeing a lot of the stupid console war stuff and all the people trying to like pick it apart and everything, but there's no denying that was objectively an awesome showing, and it looked great. And I love the rumors about the multiverse and sort of the female Lombax being Ratchet from another universe, which I think is really cool. And I think it looks great. I can't wait to play it. And I put on Twitter, I think there's so much more than just the visuals that you see as well. The next gen's going to be all about the new controller and the intelligent feedback and just being able to navigate your games and everything. I think there's so much more than just, oh, this looks really nice, look at all these particles and ray tracing and everything. I think it's just the general experience is going to be so much different to what we're used to. It's really, really cool. Really, really exciting. And it looks just like a Pixar movie. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how great this game looks. I mean, they're even, I don't know if they've confirmed ray tracing. Maybe they have, but you can see a lot of reflections, especially in there's just the characters reacting to the floors. I mean, there's just, if not just the reflections, there's the particle effects. There's just tons on screen. So many actual, like, just crazy detailed geometry on screen, and it's all running in the engine. It's just absolutely nuts. I mean, this is the way to show off. This is maybe the first like actual legit next gen gameplay that I think actually like really excites me, that we've seen in detail. At least with Miles Morales, we just haven't seen a bunch, like an actual like in-game demo.
The gameplay they've shown there is very cinematic, and it's hard to get a real grasp for how it's going to look and play. But I agree. I think that's your first real look at next gen. It looks awesome. And I think they've said ray tracing is going to be in it, and you can even tell that there's that. I don't know if you've seen that thing that's going around. It's kind of like a slowed down bit showing this like pop of lighting, and there's people using it to say, oh, these consoles aren't powerful, but what that apparently is, these guys who are much smarter than me were going into detail on it, and apparently that was to do with the ray tracing not being able to be calculated before the level's loaded in front of you. So there's some slight lighting pops there, but so in a way that's cool because it confirms there's ray tracing. And I heard that Ratchet's fur will react to the wind and all of these crazy things.
Wow.
So it's going to be an impressive looking game. Already from what we've seen, it looks amazing. Ratchet and Clank is, by default an awesome game. You can't really mess it up. It's just awesome weapons, which are apparently meant to feel all completely different thanks to the controller. Awesome, characters and environments and worlds. It's going to be a great game.
No, I can't wait. And I mean, for people complaining about the ray tracing, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the fact that we even have this in consoles now is pretty nuts. I mean, this is still somewhat of a, not new, but it's still like not everybody has this on the PC level. It's like you still have to get certain graphics cards, and it still is taxing on your system. And so the fact that this console has it integrated, I mean, that's a huge deal. What do you feel about the, because they showed this game off in its normal like 30 FPS mode. I guess they announced afterwards that there is a 60 frames per second mode that is, I think they downgrade it goes from 4K to like possibly 1080p, but that they give you an option to toggle between that. How do you feel about that option?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Yeah, I think 4K 30 is completely fair enough. I think at 4K you want as high texture fidelity as possible. So I think FPS needs to take the back seat there. I mean, you see a lot of people saying, oh, it's only 30 FPS at 4K, but there are hardly any computers out there that won't cost you thousands and thousands of dollars that are going to be able to perform 60 FPS at 4K anyway. That is not the norm. That is not what consoles should be aiming for this generation. It's just not realistic. But I mean, I've been hearing that PS5 will be supporting 1440p as well, because the Pro obviously didn't do that because I suppose it wasn't really worth the hassle. So it'd be nice to see 60 FPS at 1440p. That would be awesome. And some nice a bit of customization, which I think this is showing, being able to have lower resolutions or maybe lower graphics fidelity for more performance. It would be nice to be able to sort of flick around, because I know people are different. They like to take different things from their experiences in games, and I think a game like Ratchet and Clank, you'd probably want. I would probably personally go for the higher graphical fidelity and the 30 FPS. I think 30 frames a second for a game like that is absolutely fine. So yeah, it's really cool. It's giving us that option. It's showing us how versatile these consoles are and how, just a bit more PC like they're getting with being able to, really reach for these, top end resolutions and still perform well. Because that gameplay demo you can watch on YouTube at 4K. So that's obviously being shown in 4K at 30 FPS, and it looked absolutely seamless. So there's no real reason to complain or worry about that at all.
Yeah, I mean, same thoughts on my end. I wonder if, I guess I assumed going into the PS5 that we were going to see that option to toggle back and forth. I feel like we kind of got used to that with the upgrade from the PS4 to PS4 Pro, where they now had this extra hardware or this extra power that wasn't intended. So the devs now had the option to kind of toggle that on and off. We saw that with God of War, with other games. Yeah. And I wondered that with PS5, it's like they have that base hardware, so it's just they're gonna push it as much as they can to that level. And I like that we still have that option to choose the fidelity over frame rate.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And yeah, I'm really excited. I think it'll be nice to have 1440p support as well, because I think 1440p. I mean, I'm sure 1080p is probably still the most common denominator that people play on, but I would probably say that 1440p is not only more accessible than 4K, obviously, but in terms of price, but also I'd imagine that it's probably a bit more popular at the moment. So it'd be nice to see that supported. Be nice to be able to, play PS5 on my monitor and get my money's worth.
Right. Yeah, no, and it's cool to see the game running at the quality is with everything going on. And I guess you can kind of, if you pick apart anything, it's not really much to pick apart, but you can kind of tell a bit more now watching that gameplay. When you do transfer between worlds, there is a kind of a quasi loading screen that's just like 3 seconds where Ratchet is falling, and you can tell it's probably just loading the next thing, but it's still so fast. Even then, the fact that there's really not much to like criticize. It's just like I can just tell, okay, that's where it's loading the next part, and then it actually loads
because that falling looks nice. Like it looks
right.
It makes it's better that you fall rather than it just happen straight away. If that makes sense, it just makes it seem more organic. It's kind of like, I mean, the sort of contrasting thing that games do now is when you like squeeze through a gap in a wall. Like Jedi Fallen Order was awful for that, and I think Last of Us 2 did it quite often as well. Where that's just not enjoyable. It's not fun to look at. It's just slow. But I mean, it is better than a loading screen, and it is a good way of masking it. But so yeah, I think I don't even know if the reason they have him falling is to load the level. I don't know whether that's just to make it look nice. And but yeah, I mean, like you said, it does at least give them some extra time to load things in and make things seem even more seamless. But yeah, it looks awesome. I think the whole Rift idea, I think, is cool on its own, and I think it is a cool way to show, look, no loading screen, straight into the game. You're just going to be playing this now, nonstop. And I'm actually kind of intrigued to see if it has any effect on games' playtime. So whether it knocks an hour off most games or whatever. Because the amount of time you sit in loading screens, or something happens that you have to wait for it to load, or needless things happen before you get into the game. That all adds up, and I'm sure it would probably reach an hour quite easily at the end of a game. And obviously, the longer the game is, the more of these things will occur. So I wonder if it will make games slightly more streamlined as well, which could be nice.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it depends on the game, because like we just played, Ghost of Tsushima. That was the last big first party, and that loading time was almost nothing. Where they had to artificially like extend those screens just to give you time to like read the little tips and stuff. So it does depend on the game, but yeah, I wonder how they're going to deal with that now extra time that we're all used to.
I still have no idea how they did that. It still creeps me out, especially considering I don't even have a Pro. I've just got a PS4 Slim. It's very scary that was able to happen like that, but
and that download size was like 40 gigs or something. It was so small compared to then you have like Call of Duty taking over 200 goddamn gigabytes. It's not
a joke.
And they're still that's one of the most beautiful. Tsushima, anyways, is one of the most beautiful PS4 games. So the fact they're able to do that, keep the file size low, keep the loading so fast, it's nuts.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and I think that's just going to start to become the norm now, which is obviously amazing, but it's going to turn us into such snobs, and I'm already cringing at what we're going to be like in about 5 years' time when we see a loading screen.
Oh, 100%. Like we're used to that already with the internet. Like I grew up going through the whole dial-up internet phase and getting used to just like that was the norm. It just took so long. And now when my screens don't refresh immediately, then I'm just like calling my internet service provider. I'm like, what's going on?
Calling the police.
Calling the police, exactly. There's a crisis here. But so you're right that we're just going to get used to this and we're going to complain further when anything is slightly longer.
Absolute assholes about loading screens. I'm looking forward to that.
Right, it's coming, and we're already assholes now, but
true.
So at Gamescom they showed that off, which is, I think that was that sold the show. That was a big deal. As far as like some of the other stuff they announced, we can kind of skim through it. So they did show off an actual gameplay trailer for Doom Eternal's campaign DLC called The Ancient Gods, which that one, I'm a huge fan of the last Doom Eternal. And so any more DLC, any more content they can throw my way, it's just like, take my money now. I cannot wait for that. But they showed that off. Also, Little Nightmares 2, was that on your radar? Or did you play the last one of last game?
I've seen Little Nightmares. That's the sort of like kid in like the yellow raincoat, isn't it? It's sort of 2D or 3D platformer kind of thing. It looks cool. I never played it, but I've always sort of been quite enamored with the art style and sort of the sort of way there were sort of like certain things happening in the background that were baked in. I thought that was a really cool idea. But I actually thought Little Nightmares 2 was already out, to be honest. So, but no, if it's not, then that's cool to hear that it's getting more sort of talked about and nearing its release.
Yeah, same with me. I guess it was never something that called out to me. At the same time, one game that reminds me of that I want more of is that this game from the dev called Play Dead, and the game is called Inside. I don't know if you got to try that a couple years ago. I loved that game. And so when I was watching this gameplay for Little Nightmares 2, I just kept thinking, man, I just want to play more of that other game of Inside. And so maybe this will scratch that itch and I'll jump into this.
Yeah, Inside's awesome. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the thing with Little Nightmares is I think I've always been enamored with how it looks, but I've never really seen it look that fun to play. It kind of looks just like you're just walking along these really well-made, grim sort of environments. I could be completely wrong. It could be a really complex, good game, but I think that's sort of the kind of impression I've got from it. So I've never really felt enticed to sort of give it a go. But no, I mean, this might sort of stoke some fires. And Inside's actually a game that I ended up playing a few years after it came out anyway, so it could just be another one of them. And I agree. I think Inside is absolutely brilliant. I think it's such a cool concept, and the puzzles were really cool as well. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that one.
And at least in the gameplay trailer for Little Nightmares 2, you play as two characters, but I wonder, is it co-op or you're just controlling both of them? I'm not familiar with the original one. Maybe there was some kind of co-op mechanic. I'm just not sure if that's a standard.
Yeah. Because that's what happened. Didn't they do something similar with that Unravel game? Didn't they do like an Unravel 2 and that had two of the little Yarnies or whatever they are?
Yep.
I think there was an Unravel 2, unless I just completely made that up.
No, there's an Unravel 2, and I think you're right.
Game.
Gotcha. I never played that neither. That's on my list as well.
Yeah.
Now they showed off some other stuff. We got 12 Minutes, which is this indie game. And they announced the voice cast, which is like the star-studded voice cast. You got Daisy Ridley from Star Wars. Is it John McAvoy? Who's from X-Men and a bunch of other stuff. And then it's narrated or voiced by William Dafoe. That game looks pretty nuts. It's like you're a character in a time loop, and it's top down, and you just have to figure out what's going on, apparently. But that looks pretty dope. And then one that's I'm highly interested in this. This is from the devs that do Titanfall, and it's Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. It's a VR game, and it's for Oculus Quest. And so this is now that I have an Oculus Quest, like this is definitely on my radar. And I love with I'm blanking on the dev's name for Titanfall, but they do
Respawn.
There you go. I love their single player content. And so like with Titanfall 2, that was maybe one of my favorite FPS campaigns ever. And so for this one is also a single player campaign. So them going back into that and building it from the ground up, and it's VR and it's World War II setting. Like I cannot wait for this.
Yeah, really, really awesome. Yeah, I didn't even know this was a thing. And yeah, like then my little brother's got the Oculus Quest, so I'll definitely be stealing it. I'm so much stronger than my little brother, so I'll just take his Quest off him.
There you go, easy.
And play this for sure. I mean, he's like 11, like he's so much weaker than I am. So
he so should be. I'd be surprised.
Yeah. So whilst he, I mean, I've only got a couple of years till he's like a teenager, so I've got to like, I don't have long till he's probably got like that like freakish hormonal strength. So I've got to do it whilst I can. But no, this looks really cool. Just looking at like still screenshots of it. I think this is like the best way to, the only way to really play games like this now, because so burnt out from all this World War II stuff. But playing it in VR will be really, really cool, especially if there's like D-Day stuff. That would be terrifying. But
it looks like cool. There might be some of that.
It does kind of look like a PS2 game, but that's fine.
That's the trade-off, though, especially with the Oculus. It's not the most powerful VR console or VR unit, and so there's going to be kind of a trade-off there. But I guess that's just to be expected. Yeah,
it's absolutely fine. I'll still sort of freak out if I'm stood sort of on a high up something or whatever. So.
Right, and there's a lot of those moments you can tell in the gameplay trailer where it's like at one point you're in the trenches and a tank is rolling over you. I think they're going to lean further into those set pieces that are just going to freak you out, in first person mode.
Yeah. It sounds really, really cool. I didn't even know that was announced, so that's exciting.
Also, if they let me strangle some Nazis, like a first person, then great.
Oh yeah,
even better.
Yeah. I'm well up for strangling some Nazis.
I did my part, and I served in the war. Beyond that, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff on the radar, or at least on our radar for Gamescom news. Of course, it's a bummer that they can't have an actual physical event, but that's just the world we live in right now. But I think you went to it last year, right?
Yeah, I was meant to be going this year as well, but obviously with everything that happened, so it's a bit I'm a bit sad because it's always like my favorite holiday. Like I'm always like, it's one of those things where, it ends and then you're already looking forward to next year's one. So I've been looking forward to it since last August. So it's kind of a bummer, but, at least, we've got this sort of week now just to have some new game releases. There's still some excitement, but I'm just gutted I'm not sat on the river drinking some steins of nice German beer, but I'll be in Scotland getting rained on instead. But
there you go.
But no, it's it's good. It's good that they're still using it as like a sort of a landmark event to sort of announce things, kind of like a mini E3, I suppose.
Right.
So yeah, it's cool, but very sad. Very sad that I can't drink German beer.
Well, one day, Callum, one day.
Yeah, one day. Yeah, in a year.
So we got, we had our Gamescom news. There's some more PS5 stuff we could dissect. So this is just some rumors going on, patents that have been released. So we got PS5 DualSense patent suggests next-gen controller could detect users. This is Adam Bankers of IGN. A recently approved PS5 DualSense patent suggests that Sony's next-gen controller may one day be able to identify specific users simply by how they are holding it. As reported by Segment Next via VGC, this patent describes a system that would use DualSense's sensors, including its gyroscope and accelerometer, to gather telemetry data to track the controller's position, orientation, and properties such as maximum velocity, minimum velocity, or mean velocity of a controller for a given time, such as 60 seconds, for example. If a match is found by the controller, it would prompt the user to accept or reject the detected profile. This patent looks to solve the issue of having to manually log into multiple accounts and provide a more seamless experience. It's a lot of technical jargon, but it seems like when you pick it up, the way you hold it, it just knows this is Larry versus Ted, and somehow identifies. I'm not sure exactly how specific you have to be holding it to like tell who's who, but it's pretty nuts if they can do that.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know if I hold a trailer like differently, a controller differently to other people, but I've got a friend who holds it, does that weird crab thing where he like has his hand sort of over, and it allows him to do impossible things on multiplayer games.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know. Yeah, it sounds cool. It sounds futuristic, which is always exciting. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. But this is just going to turn us all into snobs, isn't it? We're gonna literally be Elijah Wood in Back to the Future 2 when he's like, "You have to use your hands." Like, this is so stupid. That's
well, I like to
just
grab
gonna
my
be us.
I like to grab my control with my feet, so maybe this will be better for me, just so it recognizes me faster.
Yeah, straight away, like only you use your feet to pick up the controller. I know who this is.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, but it's you're right. It's just another like quality of life feature, but we're just gonna get used to it and be angry that I have to like manually log in. But I mean,
well, I already get angry when I'm playing a game that I've got on disc and I have to get up to put it in my PS4.
Yep.
So it's already happening. Like it's going to be really bad. Like I am worried about what this is going to do to us. It's going to make us so just not tolerant of anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be real bad. but good as well. Like I wouldn't change that. I want it. I want all the laziest stuff. But we're gonna become the people in Wall-E that like let's sit on those chairs and just eat their way to death.
Sign me up, man. The faster I can get to that, the better. I'll take that right now. But so we got that possible patent, whether it's integrated into PS5, who knows, because they have patents all the time about stuff, but that was in the news. So we have another one. This is more speculation on the price. So we have PS5 price and release date rumors making headlines in Japan. This is Robert Ramsey of PushSquare.com. A new rumor regarding the PS5 price and PS5 release date is currently doing the rounds online after it was picked up by a reputable Japanese source, blog.asuturo.com, according to Chinese tech website My Drivers. The PS5 is set to launch on the 20th of November, according to this. The digital-only edition will retail for $399, while the standard edition with a disc drive will sell for $499. This is US. The following table was published in the aforementioned article. So they have a breakdown also of the potential prices. So they have the Blu-ray or digital, the PS5 digital edition. So $399 in the US, $349 in the UK, or the actual disc version is $499 in the US or $449 in the UK. So they go on further. If all this sounds pretty believable, but this leak does raise some questions. For starters, it states that the PS5 will launch first in Japan on the 14th of November. While not completely out of the question, it would still be strange to see Sony target Japan with an earlier release given the company's Western focus. Let's not forget the PS4 launched around 3 months late in Japan. If these prices are, accurate, how do you feel about what this is on point to release at?
Well, I'm already I'm getting the digital edition for reasons similar to what I was just saying about me being extremely lazy. But I can't imagine it be £349. That's far too cheap. I think add 100 to both of them. I think $549 for the Blu-ray one and $449 for the digital one. I think that's probably about bit more realistic. But yeah, I don't know what I think the rest of them are probably I just don't really know enough about how those things should be priced. I mean, the controller, I think £55 might be a bit cheap, maybe 65 again, just
right.
Or even for the dollars, I mean, maybe $69.99. I think that would probably make a bit more sense considering what we're getting. Even that, I think, might be a bit on the cheap side if they're as good as they say. But yeah, I don't quite believe those prices. If that is true, I think that's awesome. I think $499 for the Blu-ray and $399 for the digital is insane. I mean, that's how much the PS4 was when it came out, and the jump from PS3 to PS4 was not that mad. Whereas I think the jump now, getting up to the 4K and the new SSD architecture, and especially the Blu-ray version, which is going to have a 4K Blu-ray player. I think it's going to be a bit more expensive than that. But hopefully I'm wrong, because I'd love to pay £349 for a PS5. That'd be ideal.
Oh yeah, and then I mean, same here. Like, I do kind of am weary of course, this is just kind of rumor stuff, but it seems like it would be awesome if that was the target price, if that's what they're going for. But I feel like realistically, we're going to see a bit of more of a jump, and also because of the fact that if it was really this cheap, there's nothing to wait for. I mean, this is going to be absolutely compatible, or not compatible, but something to compete with Xbox, where it's like this is something that's going to be priced very well. I feel like the Xbox Series X has to at the very least be $500, $550 dollars. Like, if anything's going to be more than that, because this is potentially a crazy powerful console compared to the PS5.
I think the Xbox has got to be cheaper than the PS5. I mean, I get that the Xbox is meant to be slightly more powerful, but I think the PS5 makes up for that in its like complexity in its engineering, from what I've heard. But I think you have to look at the games. I mean, Xbox cannot sell for higher when the games you're getting. I mean, I know Game Pass is maybe a bit of an enticement, so it could pave way for a higher entry point with the console, but you'd have to imagine PS5 with its luxury, or I say luxury, I don't know if that's the best word for it, but their library of games on offer that is exclusive to that system. I think they have more reason to charge a bit higher. They charge, it's the premium like place to play your games kind of thing.
Right.
So for me, I think with the current, sway in because at the moment, I mean, me and you were both saying this could be where Xbox take the lead and they have the strongest start, but it really doesn't look like that's happening, especially this close to launch. It looks like PlayStation are just running away with it again.
Yep.
So you'd have to imagine that Xbox are going to have to price their way out of this. But like you were saying, if these are the prices, then why aren't PlayStation just announcing it? Because there's no way that Xbox are going to be cheaper than that.
Right.
But I think it could also be the other way around. It could be that Sony might want to sell it for more than that, so they're waiting for Xbox. Because if Xbox come out and say this is $700, then PS4 can be like, or PS5 or Sony can be like, well, we'll do it for $600. Then it's still cheaper than Xbox, but that's more expensive than what we were originally planning. So it might just be that maybe they've got this really, really amazing price idea in their head, but they're waiting for Xbox to see if they can raise it slightly. Perhaps that's the sort of thing, but who knows? I mean, this is literally just an Excel spreadsheet that someone's
I don't know. This looks pretty legit. It's not something I could make somehow on my computer for sure.
but no, it's cool. It's just a nice sort of talking point, and it's just exciting, isn't it? And November's not far away at all, which is very strange that we can't pre-order them yet, but
it's insane. And that's our next story, is that possibly we can, and there's some issues with that going forward. But we're getting so close to November. I guess the wrench you can throw into the system is possibly with Xbox. They have this rumored Lockhart, like all digital release that's been rumored for a long time. And usually when things are rumored for that long, it ends up being legit. So if they do throw that into the mix, that's like a way cheaper Xbox Series X, possibly the Xbox Series S, they're calling it. If that's cheaper, still as or somewhat powerful compared to the PS5, but it's dramatically cheaper, that also kind of complicates things as far as like, what does Sony do? How do they price there? Because they just have really one console, but the benefit is you can have a disc drive or not. But it's how much can they alter the price because of that? But I guess that's where things get complicated. But we're getting so close to release. We keep saying that, we've been saying this for months now, but both parties need to actually announce everything they got price wise and kind of put it out on the table.
Yeah, I need to grow some balls and just go first. It's going to be really interesting to see who goes first, because they're both clearly. I mean, I'm pretty sure they both admitted they're waiting for each other as well.
Right. Yeah.
Publicly, so it is quite funny, because if they're both waiting for each other, then who's going to be first? Who's going to imagine having that decision to make? Like, we're going to go first. We're going to announce first. But yeah, I think if we were to just hypothetically say that was true, then perhaps the reason PlayStation aren't wanting to come out and reveal that price is because they think maybe they could charge more. So they're just waiting for the last second before coming out with that. Because if they came out with that would be it. That would be, PlayStation would be set. People would be chuffed with that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's the reality, is that they're reacting to each other.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you're saying about the Xbox Series S or whatever it's called, they're making it very confusing. And I think PS5 have done it perfectly. They're just like, you can get a PS5, one with a disc tray and one without. That's it. One's going to be cheaper, one's going to be more expensive. They've done what Xbox are faffing around trying to figure out with all these weird code names and stuff, just by going, it's the same console. One's got a disc drive, one hasn't. One's going to be £100 cheaper.
Yep.
It's just the best way to do it. I think it's just easy, simple. They're not trying to overcomplicate everything, and it's looking very good, and I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, I think the whole point when Microsoft shot themselves in the foot with the Xbox naming, you can trace all the way back to when the 360 launched. they're launching next to the PS3, and I think it was clear that they had to make some kind of naming thing to be more competitive with the fact that there's now a third PS or PlayStation, and they're coming out with an Xbox 2. Just like on paper, it's like, oh, this is less powerful or something, so they have to always combat that marketing. So they went with the 360 terminology, but then it makes things from that point. It's like you can't just do an Xbox 2, Xbox 3. Because now they have to keep these different naming ideas going, but that complicates consumers or that confuses them. Yeah. And I mean, that was something I imagine they knew from the get-go. It's like, if we go down this path, we're going to have this laundry list of issues that we have to combat. So they made their decision, but I don't think that was the best call.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose it doesn't really matter too much, because if someone's set on getting an Xbox, they'll get an Xbox. And I think, again, the sway is so tremendously in PlayStation's favor at the moment, and you can't really see how Xbox are going to force that out unless PlayStation make a horrendous mistake in some way, but I just can't see that happening. I just, because I mean, I don't know if you saw that poll. It was like, I think it was a UK thing actually, which to be honest, like, to sort of remove any bias, I think the UK is very PlayStation centric anyway, especially compared to America, because obviously Microsoft is an American corporation, and I know that you Americans like to buy American things.
Well, nothing's made here anymore, so it's like we're running out of companies.
But yeah, and I think in the UK they did this big sort of social quiz, and it was something like 86% of people were saying that they're going to get a PS5 over an Xbox. So I think there's not really a huge amount that can be done, really. It's just it doesn't matter how confusing the names are. People are they're going to buy what they want to buy.
Yeah, very true. All right, Callum. Well, we were talking about pre-ordering and how we should be able to do that soon. There's a little bit more news in that direction. So this is the next article here. Sony sets up its own PS5 pre-order page, only available to U.S. residents. This is Liam Croft of PushSquare.com. You can now register your interest to pre-order a PlayStation 5 console directly from Sony. A new page has been set up on the official PlayStation website, whereby you can input your PSN ID to confirm your interest in the upcoming console, with selection of who can actually pre-order when the time comes based on your interest in previous PlayStation activities. So here's a quote. There will be a limited quantity of PS5 consoles available for pre-order, so we will be inviting some of our existing consumers to be one of the first to pre-order from PlayStation. You will be contacted via email if you're successful, allowing you to pre-order either the standard PS5 or the digital version. And then also the DualSense controllers, 2 charging stations, you can pre-order to purchase that first as well. Due to limited quantities, you will only be able to pre-order one PS5 console. While the prospect of ordering your PlayStation 5 directly from Sony may sound appealing, it's worth mentioning that this offer is only open to those with a US-based shipping address. That means that you'll be able to purchase from anywhere outside the US, but if your address is set at a location outside the country, then your order will be canceled. Callum, this isn't good news for you in the UK. How do you feel about this?
Very sad. In fact, as you were saying that, I sort of brought up the website because I was like, "Oh, I'm definitely going to do that." And then you shot my dreams down by telling me I can't.
Hopefully, I can catch on camera the moment when your heart breaks. Live. I can see it happen.
Definitely. Yeah. You'll see my eyes become dead. It's cool. It's just showing that it's getting closer, isn't it? But I mean, I just, as soon as they got pre-order, I'm getting one. I have to. It's the same again as when the PS4 got announced. I was right on there, just in case. You never know, how shafted you're gonna get by. But they said that they've like ordered more for production now or something. So
they did announce that a couple months ago. Right. So we should have maybe 5 more or whatever, how many more they're producing. Yeah. But hopefully it's a bit more than original.
And I like to imagine that people are going to be getting the disc one for the 4K Blu-ray player. So I'm hoping that the digital edition will be a bit more niche, and I'll have an even better chance of getting one of them.
Right.
So yeah, so as long as I get one, I don't care. I don't care whether I have to sign up through PlayStation or buy it through some weird website. I'll do what I've got to do.
Yeah, this one's interesting on a couple levels. Yeah, it's interesting on a couple levels because this is them sort of, moving away from the big box stores. And that's always been the connection these companies want to have with, say, like Walmart or, GameStop. I know there's another GameStop equivalent in the UK. Like they want to have this good relation because they sell their products, sell their actual controllers and the actual physical discs. So you don't want to burn that bridge. but this is them going, yeah, that's cool, but we're going to sell directly from us, and everyone else has to deal with it. So it's an interesting, I imagine this move is going to make waves, but also on top of that too, the fact that they're focusing on the US first is weird. I'm not sure why, especially mentioned in the UK, it's a huge, country for PlayStation in general. So maybe they're just rolling these things out incrementally. They do the first pre-orders for the US and then they open it up for different countries because the quantities are limited. That's how they can kind of control how they send it out. But does this mean that this is all of their inventory, and that are there any left over to actually reach the big box stores for people to go out and buy them? Although people still aren't going to physical stores right now because of COVID. So how are they doing that? Where does Amazon play into it? It's just a lot more questions now.
Yeah, because Amazon have got the PlayStation 5s listed on there, and it's from the official PlayStation brand and everything. At least on the UK Amazon site, but it just doesn't have the details. So I'm hoping that it'll just come up on there when you can get them. And I mean, that's normally where I get most of my stuff from. So yeah, I think I'll just be, refreshing the page on Amazon until I can do it.
Or I can buy an extra one and I can ship it to you for an easy $1,000. We can make it work.
Oh. If you take PayPal credit, then I'll up for it.
Hey, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But so that's good news, even though it's still in the right now that pre-order thing is locked to the US. But it's good news that the fact that they are now getting the ball rolling on the pre-orders.
Yeah, they're making moves. Yeah.
Although you can pre-register to pre-order, but we still don't know the price yet, which is very strange.
Pre-order your pre-order.
Yeah. It's like with movies that give you the pre-trailer and then they announce that the full trailer's coming. It's nonsense like that. Callum, we'll end on this. It's not really much, but it's just kind of more news of the fact that the whole marketing scheme is getting the ball rolling as well with PS5. There's a picture that has surfaced online with the PS5 logo promotion on a Doritos bag of chips. So we got that coming.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
It shows that the PlayStation 5 does in fact exist, because you can win one. Although there is an asterisk, and those asterisks do normally mean something horrible. So maybe they don't exist. But again, it's all just, I mean, I think just anything that says PlayStation 5. I mean, I was watching football the other day, and the sort of advertising banners around the stadium, they had all PS5 on there, so it no longer says PS4, it's now saying PS5, which that's always something because I watch a lot of football, and it's always something I notice even from being a kid. When there's a new console, you see it advertised on the football. It replaces what was there. And even when you watch classic games, you'll see they'll say PS2 or PS3. So it's cool to see PS5 on there. It makes it kind of official in a weird way. And I don't know if you noticed, but PS5 sounds nice to say now. Because every time, if we say PS6 right now, it sounds so horrible. But in 7 or 8 years' time, we'll be saying it and it'll be rolling off the tongue. And so it's definitely right. It's definitely here. It feels like it's the time for PS5 now. So and the Doritos just confirms that.
Yep, but who knows? Doritos would save the day with this. That's awesome. You're right that it's seeing this stuff. Because it's been a standard where it's you see the commercials on TV, you see them in different sports games, and now you see it on Doritos. It's it just makes it more real, and it's good to see, because we've had so many months of not getting anything, or a random Wired article where they talk about haptic feedback, and now it's actually okay. Pre-orders are coming in, sort of. We got some of the marketing thing in full swing. We're getting close. Still no price or an actual date, but we're getting close.
But it's such a colossal thing. PS5s it's like tomato ketchup, right? It doesn't need to be advertised. People are going to buy it. You never see a tomato ketchup advert because it doesn't need to be advertised, because people buy ketchup. It's like PS5 and Xbox. They don't need to advertise it. People are going to buy them regardless. Just let us buy them. Just let us do it. And
it's one of the first times in history where people are just they're begging to be able to buy this thing.
Yeah, and if you think about it, they revealed that PS5 logo, if you can even call it that font, an event. It was the whole purpose of an event was to reveal that. So now that we're seeing it on TV, on Doritos at football matches, it's just making it very real.
Right.
And it's kind of making me not like my PS4, because I'm oh, you're not advertised anywhere. I don't want to play on you. You're old news.
Right.
So I'm fully in the PS5 swing now because of Doritos and football.
Nice. Well, yeah, that's the American dream is Doritos and football. So we're good. Yeah, Calum, that's it for us this week. We can end it there. Where can they find you online?
Twitter at Bear Monroe. It's normally where I spout my rubbish.
Awesome. And we'll keep where will your Wasteland 3 review post up?
Yeah, so that so my reviews are going on techstomper.com. It's called it's a Techstomper. It's quite nicely laid out. You can always see the ones that I write. I think it's only my Pathfinder review on there at the moment, but yeah, the Peaky Blinders review and the Wasteland review will be up there sort of whenever they get put on there. But I normally share them on Twitter anyway, and so
Gotcha.
Hopefully they'll offer some insightful insight or whatever.
Insightful insight.
I'm not selling it well, am I? I can barely string a sentence together. Read my reviews. I promise I can speak English.
Right. All right, Kyle. Yeah, we'll end it there. You keep up with the show as well on Twitter at Plastic Heart Pod. That's it for us this week. We'll see you guys next week.
See you later.
You're too late. I've already summoned Meteor.
Okay, let's go.